Okay. Here we go.
Welcome to the New Media Show, where each Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern, UTC +4, Todd Cochrane and Rob Greenlee take their over 30 combined years of leadership in the podcasting space to discuss, dissect, and deconstruct the current podcasting news, forecasts, trends, and predictions. Now here are your hosts, Academy of Podcasting Hall of Famers, Todd Cochrane and Rob Greenlee.
Hey Rob, how you doing? Welcome back. It's Wednesday and it's New Media Show time.
Yes, it is. It's great to be back, Todd.
You know, I got my replacement trophy ordered.
You did. I haven't done that yet, but that's on the docket.
You don't know what you want to know what the price is?
I would imagine it's expensive.
$255.
Wow. I think I just might keep the one I have.
Not surprised at all. So, yeah.
No, I'm not either.
But they were Johnny on the spot responsive. So, it was good. But anyway, people don't care about that. So you were asking me, how's it going when you popped into I said I was busier than a one-legged man in an ass-kicking contest. I don't know if that's politically correct or not, but that's how busy I am.
It does get the mind thinking a little bit, doesn't
it? Yeah. So, yeah, busy. And I think that, a lot of follow-up discussions from Podcast Movement. We're still clearing the queue on that. And then, lo and behold, I'm like, next week, we're going to Vegas, baby.
I know. That's true. NAB coming up fast.
That's right. So what day do you fly out to Vegas?
I'm getting in there on the 22nd of April.
So I get there on Thursday, the 21st.
Oh, you're getting there one day early. Okay.
Yeah. And so anyway, it's it is what it is, but 7 days in Vegas for anybody is too much.
That is a lot, I have to admit. For those that have been there many times, I'm pretty sure you'll understand what we're saying. It just gets a little much after a while.
Yeah, it's the noise assault on one's ears is just...
Yeah.
But I think there should be hazardous duty pay for having to spend more than 3 days there.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a big convention center, too. That's the thing.
Yeah, it is. And I guess we are going to be not only live or on the stage once, but I heard now twice. Is that correct? Oh, my God. Oh, my God. So I've been following the emails vicariously, so tell me what's this all about.
The 24th of April, we're going to be on stage from 3 to 4:30 p.m., and that's Pacific Standard Time.
Uh-huh.
And then again on the 26th from 3 to 4:30 p.m.
So twice.
Twice in 3 days. Yeah, right.
Oh, and we're not going to be live, though.
From what I gather, that's not on the docket right now, but it's going to be all fully recorded, so we'll be able to get a copy of everything and push it out as an audio and video podcast. So it's just a matter of getting up on stage and doing the show for 90 minutes twice.
Are we going to be able to have enough people attending to do the show twice?
I figure, yeah. Actually, I'm working with the NAB team to come up with a few more guests for us. So,
okay.
So I've got a couple booked already. It's just a matter of, I don't want to announce it quite yet, but
all right.
But I want to get a couple more. So I would at least want to get 2 additional guests on each session. So it'll be a total of 4 of us up on stage.
How is it we get 3 hours on the main NAB live stage? Explain that to me.
Knowing people in places is the only explanation I can give you.
Okay.
Right. Thank you, Josh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, because that's like a pretty prominent spot on the floor, we're going to get some serious traffic. So do we need to have a pull-up or something? Do we need to order something for the show?
When you say order something, are you thinking like some sort of prop or something?
Yeah, some sort of pull-up or something with the logo or...
I mean, I think you have one.
Do I have one for
you've brought one to shows before?
Yeah, it's this sign back here, but it's not I don't know if it's not like a pull-up stand or anything.
No, that's true. That's true. I'm not quite sure yet. I'll find out more tomorrow when I do my call with the team there to find out if we're going to have any visuals behind us, or we're going to be able to have any kind of graphics displayed behind us. I mean, it may just be it's just us on stage. So
I was just thinking a way to maximize our exposure here. So that's cool. So I'll order some swag in, so at least we can have some. I don't know. It's going to have to hurry because time is tight, but I'll order some more swag in so we have at least something to give away.
Okay. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So it'll be good. It won't be too far away from our booth, so we'll be leaving our cohorts behind, but that shouldn't be too long.
All right. So it's Sunday the 24th.
6th. Oh, yeah, 4th and the 26th.
And both at the same time?
Yeah, 3 to 4:30.
3 to 4:30. And also I heard we're working on a meetup too for Vegas.
Yeah, actually it's going to be in combination with the Podcast Movement folks. So it's the same time, the night of the 26th.
So the night of the 26th, that's Tuesday. What time is that?
I believe the Podcast Movement meetup is going from 7 to 9.
7 to 9. Do we know where?
Yeah, I don't know right off the top of my head right this minute.
So we need to get that info so we can get that in the show notes so that people.
Let me see if I can pull that up here really quick.
And by the way, we did get the video for Podcast Movement Evolutions. The blog post has been updated. So those of you, if you wanted to see our main stage presence, which is quite beautiful, definitely look at newmediashow.com and get the skinny.
Yeah. So the Podcast Movement meetup / New Media Show meetup is going to be at the Nevada Brew Works. Is the name of it. Nevada Brew Works.
And you're coordinating also with the Las Vegas podcaster group too, right?
Yeah, they're also going to be converging on the Podcast Movement event as well.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And my understanding is that event might be sponsored by somebody.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. So we don't know who. Might be a competitor. Right. Who knows? We don't know, but
we'll see.
Well, anyway, so we're representing the New Media Show at the Podcast Movement event. We're not representing Libsyn
or Blueberry, right?
But,
Yeah.
But
so that's all right.
Yeah. So awesome. So if you're going to be at NAB, come on down. We want to see you. Of course, come and see Rob and I for business at our booths, our respective booths as well. In the out on West, they call it West. We're in West. So just
in the back, in the West.
So search for Blueberry and search for Libsyn, and you'll find us. And there's a couple other folks that are going to be there. I'm booking meetings right now with companies that want to come wine and dine us. One of them is a journalist organization.
Yeah. I think I saw something.
Oh, so maybe you got the same email.
It's a possibility, yes.
Yeah. Yes. So I'm sure they're hitting up, they just search for a term and
gathering intel.
Yeah, exactly. That's good.
Right.
So anyway, we'll have a full show next week on the 20th, but probably no show on the 27th. Well, we'll have something that will have occurred at NAB.
Yeah. So each of the shows that we're going to do at the NAB are going to have a different theme behind them. The first one is going to be about kind of podcast distribution type of topics. And then the second one on the 26th will be about podcast advertising and that kind of overall topic. So,
all right, awesome. Yeah. So that'll be good. And then immediately coming back off of Vegas, I go out to Dallas Austin.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, for Outlier.
I'm going out for Outlier. Speaking at Outlier on the 5th, I guess on the 6th sometime. Mm-hmm. And then comes May, and it's pure chaos the entire month.
Yeah, the wheels are coming off the cart,
Yep.
quite literally.
Yep, we will be. I'll be in Orlando twice for 2 different weeks in May. So yeah, it's going to be a very, very, very busy month. So
I'm going to be in Sweden and then going to London and then going to Orlando.
So are you now, or what are you doing now at the show? I heard you said something about, are you speaking now at the show?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, I'm speaking at the podcast show in London, and then also Radio Days Europe in Sweden in Malmo. So I'm going to be doing something there, and then coming back, and we're doing the new media show from Podfest.
That's right. So we'll be doing live there as
Orlando.
Well.
Yeah.
So busy time for the show, and we're not talking much about podcasting. We're just plugging here. But I hope all of you will be at one of these events and come up and say hello and grab a sticker, because I'm going to get some stickers made so we can have stickers for the show. Bring us your sticker as well, and we'll get you some swag from the podcast.
Yeah, it's a little bit like the old days, Todd.
That's fantastic.
Doing back-to-back events. And
when is this thing in June? Because I actually was trying to schedule some vacation from June, and I didn't even realize what day
it's June. I think it's June 11th. It's just a one-day event.
All right. So, okay. Well, I guess I'll have to schedule vacation after the 11th.
Called Podstock is what it's called.
All right.
In, was it Trenton, New Jersey? I believe.
I don't even know what I'm talking about. I guess I
don't either. I'm still trying to work that out with them.
My name showed up on a.
We might even do something together.
My name showed up on a poster, and I was like,
I know. I saw your picture.
I kind of scratched my head, and I was like, I guess I agreed to go.
Yeah. It's not too far for you to
go. Well, Jersey.
Yeah.
Trenton. As a matter of fact, one of my executive producers in Trenton. So, Kirk.
I've never been to Trenton, so I'll drive down from here.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I'll fly into Newark. How far is from Newark to Trenton? I don't even know. Is it right there close?
I would imagine you're down a little closer to Philadelphia.
Oh. So you might want to fly into Philly then instead.
I don't know. It's probably half one dozen the other, probably.
It's an hour and 20 minutes. I'm looking at the Newark, New Jersey to Trenton, hour 20. Let's look for Philly. That's about the same.
Yeah, I figured it's kind of right in the middle.
57 minutes, so it's a little quicker. So I guess it's easier to get into Philly than it is to get into. Actually, I hate flying into Philly. I really do.
Newark's not a whole lot better.
I guess I'll figure out which one has a cheaper car rental.
Yeah, I just went through Newark just on my last trip. So yeah.
But so lots going on here. Lots going on with us. We're now. I mean, my team is. I'm really, really pleased with my team right now. They're rocking it. So that's
good.
Yeah,
that's terrific news, Todd.
It is, and it's one of those things where like the dev team's almost moving faster than the marketing team. So it's like,
wow, that never happened.
Yeah, they got their ducks in a row. They're cruising. So. It's good. It's good. It's good to keep us on our toes.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, Todd, did you know that podcasting is growing in China? I didn't realize that. Did you?
Well, I would expect it would be a little bit. The question then is, what are they listening to? Because the Great Firewall of China can't be allowing too much content through. They're not letting this show through.
Oh, really?
Well, how would they? We're a freedom of speech show.
I suppose so. Yeah.
Anyone listening to this show in China?
As most people, I think, in the West are free speech.
I saw that mention, and the question is, 36,000 podcasts have been downloaded or streamed across China? Okay. Lizzie, one of the main podcast platforms, was interviewed in Poland in January. Well,
that's a pretty small number, though, you have to admit.
But the question is, what were they, Chinese-speaking podcast or what?
It doesn't really say what the
Yeah,
was, but it's usually focused on, fairly, entertainment, education stuff. They certainly don't stray into politics.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely not politics and not people that are bashing on the government of China either. So
right, arts and humanities. There you go.
definitely not the political piece at all.
Right. Mm-hmm. But I thought that was interesting. I mean, it is a lot of people that could get access to podcasting. It's unfortunate that it's not doing better there. But
well. When you can get hauled away for listening to the wrong things.
I agree with you. Or saying the wrong thing,
right?
Might be the other end of the spectrum, right?
Well, or the firewall catches you listening to something. You go for a re-education. You may not get ghosted, but we've been running an Instagram. We basically have a collab going on our Instagram account. Mm-hmm. And I've never been a big, I guess, in other words, Instagram user. But I'm pretty amazed at some of the work that goes into creating a reel or all this stuff that goes along with people creating Instagram stuff. It's almost as complex a process, I think, as creating a podcast. Mm-hmm. So, some of these folks do some pretty... and it's not like they just slap it, because anything about Instagram, you just slap something together, throw it up. But folks that are really working hard, they are creative. Very, very creative.
Yeah, well, it's the same thing that's going on TikTok too.
So TikTok's a lot of copycats, and
it is. Well,
and memes, dancing, and weird stuff, and news, what really is happening in the world. So. Yeah. I would say that Instagram is more structured than free-flowing TikTok, but then again, people are staging stuff. I staged some stuff when my grandchild was here this past weekend.
I know. I saw lots of pictures coming out of you.
Yeah. So I had fun.
Exciting.
It was kind of interesting because my grandson is 17 months, and I set him down my lap and got my camera out to take a selfie, and he had his binky in. And he pulled his binky out and said cheese, and I just about fell over. And I was like, really? And of course, I was just taking a picture. I'm like, okay, we're going to restage this again. And I started a video, and if I could have caught that reel, you'd have seen my astonished look on my face. But his mother has shot so many pictures of them that he's actually, as a 17-month-old, he is a, how should I say it? He's already doing collaborations. He gets clothes from baby clothes companies. Wow. And he wears
what his future looks like.
He wears their line of clothing, and she's very busy doing, Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff. So he's used to being photographed, so he's very photogenic. It's amazing.
That's great.
Yeah,
he's growing up in a different world than we did.
Yeah, I told her, I says, why don't you get him a modeling job? She says, he doesn't need a modeling job.
He already has
He's got one. Modern day. It's not like magazines and commercials. It's all social media.
Well, then, in a couple of years, you'll have to get him going with a podcast.
There you go. Yeah. I think my granddaughter will be the one doing a podcast. She's a talker. Oh my goodness. It's quite entertaining too. The stuff comes out of their mouth.
Yeah, I would imagine. Hey, Todd, did you guys ever get, I'm talking from a company perspective, did you guys ever work with Plex?
Plex. Well, I got email open here. I don't think so. I don't think I ever worked with Plex.
I had some discussion with them back when they were thinking that they wanted to get started integrating podcasts into their music and video platform that they have, and like in the cars and then set-top box type of experiences and stuff like that. And they took on podcasts, but they did kind of a half-hearted effort at it, even back then. And so I guess they've now chosen to remove podcasts again from their service. This is kind of somewhat of a rare occurrence, especially in the light of what's been happening with podcasting over the last couple of years. But maybe it is a little bit of a sign of maybe, some of these platforms that integrated in the jest of doing something hot and trendy didn't really fit long term because they weren't willing to invest in maintaining them, right, keep it up to date, fixing bugs, all those kinds of things, and people stopped using it.
I run a Plex media server on my Synology, and it's okay. There's a good question for the audience. What's an alternative to Plex? Because it's supposed to be a way where you can organize all your media, not just television media, but stuff that you've shot and images and all that stuff.
And to share it to various devices.
It's a pig. It's just so, and maybe I'm just because I'm running it on my Synology. It's just underpowered, but I'm kind of curious. Is anybody else using anything different than Plex? It works okay, but it's just clunky.
It's a little bit of an antiquated concept, given the fact that we all have, like these one box and Google Drives and stuff like that now that we can get access to all of our content now anywhere.
But if you've got, like for me, I have an announcement, but let me say it first.
Okay.
Because I wasn't getting good high-speed internet, I was burning a lot of DVDs. So I was burning movies to have a collection because the on-demand stuff was very, very difficult for me to get, and getting the spinning wheel and all this. And that's the primary reason I was running it. And actually, I was soliciting movies from people. I said, you got old DVDs you want to donate to me? In fact, we'll still take, if you got DVDs laying around in a stack somewhere, I'll still take them. But my days of broadband hell are just about over. My Starlink dish was approved.
Oh, fantastic.
So, so I paid my remaining $439 for my dish, and I'm now awaiting shipment of that hardware to me. So, paid the extra $99 for the roof mount stuff so we can mount it on a shingled roof, and I am very, very excited to take possession of this beast.
So what kind of speeds are you anticipating out of that connection?
Anything's better than what I've got now, 15.3. They're saying 150.20, but I'm sure it varies. They hope to have it be higher, but I'm paying $93 with tax right now for 15.3, and I'm going to pay $110 for whatever Elon Musk can deliver me. But I'm going to help contribute to his quest to go to Mars and to pay for his ongoing hostile takeover of Twitter.
You're supporting him financially on this.
Yeah, absolutely. And getting out of broadband hell.
Tesla, and I got myself a Model 3, so so I'm supporting him as well. So let's that could be a interesting development as well as a hostile take. That we haven't had a really good fun hostile takeover in a while, and I hope he does. I hope he does a hostile takeover of Twitter. If nothing else, it'll be entertaining. It'll definitely be interesting. I mean, he's not limited now in how many shares he can have. I think if he accepted that board seat, they were capping him at about 15%.
Yeah, 14.2. Yeah. But he's under a lawsuit, of course, and everything now. And hey, I do want to mention, and this is going to really make people's minds boggle a little bit, but I'm running an Umbrel, UMBREL node on a Raspberry Pi. So what that allows me to do is run my own Lightning node. Okay, I'm getting deep here in the weeds.
Now you're geeking out our audience now.
Yeah.
Now we're losing people.
And I have joined a ring of fire.
Wow.
That is what they actually call it.
Wow.
And we will have the ability, the five or six of us that have formed this ring of fire, to process exchange of Satoshis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's the purpose of it.
Yeah. Good. Route Satoshis in, Satoshis out. So I'm basically running my own, and someone that knows everything about this is going to say, you're saying it all wrong, dummy. But I guess it's my own node or...
Node, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it's a pass-through for transactions.
And believe me, I know I'm going by pure stupidity at this point. I'm finding my way, but I've got about $200 worth of $200 because we have to back the Satoshi node with 500,000 Satoshis. We have to be able to each of us put in 500,000 Satoshis to make. That's about around $200 at current.
That's to seed the whole network.
To seed it, yeah.
Right.
And then you charge transaction fees. So when people route through you, you earn a few Satoshis when people route through you. Mm-hmm. So you can earn a little bit of money, but it's been quite this interesting experiment. This all started from me wanting to withdraw my Satoshis and figure out, okay, how do I spend these things? And I went total geek and went way, 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 way too deep. Didn't need to do any of this, but yeah, it's pretty magic what happens when you have a wallet on Coinbase and you scan a QR code and Bitcoin goes from one place to the other. FM, it's magic, you're just right. And it shows up not instantly, but maybe an hour later.
Yeah.
And
it's not instant.
It's really quite a interesting concept here. Mm-hmm. So I'm part of the Ring of Fire. I have my
wow. Boy, all these terms to describe it make it sound rather exciting.
It does sound exciting, and it's I'm looking at a console with all these numbers, and I have no idea what 90% of it even means. But there is what I have learned from this is that we've got a long ways to go before the average podcaster is going to get their show boosted. Now, our last show got a 500 Satoshi boost by somebody, and the previous show got 333 Satoshi boost. It's not very much. It's a couple, maybe $1 or $2, something like that. Considering 500,000 is around $200, so if you can do the math, it was 50 cents, I think, for 500. So, but yeah, so
it takes a lot of Satoshis to equal much. Huh?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
but it is an interesting concept, and it's all part of the Podcast 2.0 stuff. And I've been talking with the podcast. Well, I made a suggestion to the Podcast 2.0 team. I basically said what we have at this point is the geeks get it, and they understand. But what we really got to do is we have to break this down. What's trying to be accomplished? Because Ed kind of led off a conversation with Adam. There was a back and forth between Ed over at podcasting. What is his newsletter? Sorry, Ed. Ed Ryan.
Podcast Business Journal?
Yeah. He's like, there wasn't being talked about it, podcast move evolutions and why not, and there was a little back and forth with Dan. But I think what it is it's a part of it's PR. Mm-hmm. Part of it's a PR problem about Podcast 2.0, and people just don't fully understand it, and their eyes glaze over a little bit. And some, we all can understand what a transcription tag is. That's pretty easy to explain. A location tag, that's kind of easy to explain, but it's not like you click a location on a map. You actually got to get the coordinates. You got to enter the coordinates into the tag, and there's things you have to do that most podcasters maybe won't be able to do. So there's just some stuff that is harder to make people understand the value. It's just like doing this lightning node and all this stuff that I'm setting up. The average podcaster will never do that, but I'm trying to get a handle on, okay, what happens if we support Podcasting 2.0 and we want our podcasters to get paid.
Mm-hmm.
How do we support that? And the hardware,
right? And are there alternative ways that we can facilitate that?
Yeah,
right?
and the hardware I'm running right now is pretty low powered. It's just a Raspberry Pi, so I'd have to jump to some more sophisticated hardware if we ever to set something up where we would be the holder of the coin, I guess what you would say, and allow the transactions to happen. But it's not for the faint at heart. And considering that no colleges or anything are teaching blockchain, there's no, blockchain is really one of those things where people are learning on their own, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that has gone into this, and it's just, I think for most podcasters, the geeks love it, but the rest of them are like, okay, I'll take a PayPal donation or a Patreon. It's just much easier. No, in fact, it's almost easier to set up a, credit card processing than doing what I've done. It's a lot less complicated.
Well, there's lots of payment methods now. There's
a lot.
Square, Yell.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of them out there now. Cash App. But and I think the choices are going to become even larger as we look to the future, and blockchain certainly is going to have a role in that. NFTs seems to be picking up steam in people's interests. I don't know that there's a lot of activity around NFTs, but at least in the podcasting space, but I think there's a lot of interest in it.
I've had some
spinning up.
Yeah, I've had some confidential conversations about NFT with someone else. I don't want to spoil, and I'm not under NDA, but I just don't want to, that people are looking at this for podcasters.
Yeah, they are, right.
And trying to figure out how as an example, how do we sign an NFT to an episode?
Right. And then what's the advantage of doing that? Is there a particular reason to do it? Those are all, it's great to do something because it's cool, but it's another matter if you're trying to do things that are actually effective and trying to drive a particular agenda or goal or something like that. Yeah.
And in this case, I think we would be building for the 1%, not the 99%. So.
Yeah, and that's how it always starts too, right? Can't start at the top with these things. But Todd, I also think it's interesting the item in Pod News today about Amazon Music. I thought was a little interesting little twist, given some of the things that I'm starting to hear in the podcasting space around caching topics. Again, those are like a whack-a-mole type of situation in the podcasting space. They don't ever seem to entirely go away. They keep rearing their heads, but I thought it was interesting that Amazon made it clear in their terms of service that they will not be caching any episodes. So I thought that was an interesting little statement that they made.
And considering that Spotify is...
With some shows,
usually self-hosted shows.
Right, and there's others that are talking about it more. Seriously, I can't really share too much detail on that, but... There is grumblings and rumors from a couple of big players that are playing around with this, because the reason that they do this is, and we've talked about this on the show a little bit, is kind of performance reasons on, playback speed, that kind of stuff, how quick latency is, which I think is not really that important of a issue. But and then the other end of the spectrum is they just purely want to get in the ad business.
Yep.
So. And if they host it, they can run dynamic insertion technology. Right.
And I will say, too, there's a misinformation campaign going on by certain, how should we call them, podcast hosts who are saying, you want to run advertising, you have to come over here and host with us. You can't have advertising unless you're hosting with us. And
that's not true.
And I just had a customer that went back to them and said, no, I'm running my own ad insertion on Blueberry. They're IAB certified. Give me the host endorsed copy. We'll run it over here. It's an ad inserted spot, not baked in. We're not moving. And the company said, well, tough. You can't have the advertising because you don't host with us. So it's a little bit of a game here.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I had a little birdie, and I'll go in complete confidence here, tell me that this specific company measurement numbers were a third lower than another measurement company who are both quote unquote IB certified.
A third?
A third lower.
Wow.
Like from 400,000 listens and downloads per episode to 140,000 listens and downloads on the other platform.
Wow.
And so when I hear that and combine that with you have to host over here to run ads, the little conspiracy brain of mine starts working overdrive.
Is the platform that has the higher numbers the one that's saying that you have to host with us?
No. No, it's not.
Oh, that's interesting.
And that's where my conspiracy kicks in.
Ah.
And when I was asked which company's numbers I trusted the most, based on the history I have with both of those companies, I would say that the original company with the original numbers was the company that I would trust.
That's an interesting twist on that story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying this is happening, but if you are being forced to move and your numbers go down by 2/3, is something being played with?
I hate to speculate, Todd.
So I'm being very careful not to say any names here.
Yeah. Well, why would a company do that? I guess is the next obvious question.
Okay,
right.
so
what's the advantage to them to coming out with lower numbers?
So if they bill 400 and only pay on 140,
guess what? They get to pocket some extra cash.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
I
wonder how. It's interesting how that might work.
So what I encouraged that individual to do was to tell that podcaster, hey, why don't you also run our stats and let's see what they look like over on our end. So it brought up a conversation about, well, I better be careful because someone will put 2 and plus 2 together. But
right.
I'll just say this. I want to see what our number, I know what our number is compared to the first source that I trust is. I know what that delta looks like.
Well, but both of them are certified, right?
There you go. That's my concern.
Well, just because you're certified doesn't mean you can't go in and change things. Doesn't preclude you from changing things in your back end.
Technically, you're supposed to report that.
I know.
If you make a change, you have to go and say, "Hey, we made a change. We need our back end relooked at." When we were going through this last certification, the V2.1,
or are you saying that it could be a human filter, not a algorithm?
I have no idea. So when I went through our newest, I shouldn't say when my dev team went through our latest certification with the IB certification team, these individuals are very thorough. Mm-hmm. Anyone that's went through this you get a deep in the guts look at the code line by line. You have to prove programmatically what you're saying is actually happening, and they go through every line of code. Mm-hmm. And that usually takes 2 or 3 days to get through all that code that does the processing and parsing of a log file. When we were getting our redirect certified, mm-hmm. we had to explain how we were getting a certified number.
Right.
And that took a long time to get through. That took an extra couple of months of going back and forth, questions, examining code, looking at models, looking at a variety of data. And I've said it on the show already, a hosted program, if you take a hosted program, let's take this show. Mm-hmm. This show's hosted program, and you look at those numbers, I get a pure number with that. I know based upon the IAB rules what that listen and download number is. Mm-hmm. With a redirect, the data isn't as clear because you don't have as much data. So you have to build a model. Mm-hmm. And that model puts in rules, conventions for different players, and that model has to be validated. We have to validate our model every 90 days. We have to go back through, rerun the data, make sure that our percentages of discounts are in line. So a show that's on a pure redirect, at least at Blueberry, will be 5 to 15% lower. Same show hosted. If I take the hosted logs and the redirect logs logs will always have a 5 to 15% discount.
Right.
Based upon the show makeup, based on the show listeners, based on the different players, based on how many's listening in Google, Spotify, Apple, blah, 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 blah. There's this whole formula of stuff. And they'll never, ever, ever, you'll never get full credit on a redirect for your downloads. You'll always have a little bit of discount because we can't qualify it. It doesn't fit the model. So if we get 1,000 downloads on hosted, probably the redirect downloads number will be 850. If you're following me. So when we were going through our IAB certification and getting all this data looked at,
well, redirect numbers are always a little less than
there's
correct.
Because there's no way you can qualify everything. You just can't.
Well, you don't always capture all the data either.
Well, you don't always. Yeah, you capture a percentage of that data, and some stuff you get a ping back. Sometimes you don't. There's all kinds of crazy stuff that happens. So I know what we went through to have the hosted stuff was simple. That was just a review. Yep, you're kicking out Apple Watch and these other things. But the redirect piece was what really took the long time to get the recert. And if we went through that level of scrutiny, then everyone else should have went through the same level of scrutiny, whether they're running a redirect or doing hosted log files. So there should not be, in my opinion, big deltas on hosted log data. Anyone that's hosting media, those numbers should be pretty doggone close across the space. No one's ever done a study to see how close they are.
Yeah, but I think we've always assumed, Todd, too, that the numbers were never going to be exact.
We know, but what's the delta? What do you think the delta should be? 3%, 4%, 5%?
I've always assumed that's probably what it was anywhere from 2 to 3 or 4%.
But when someone goes over and their numbers are 66% less,
that's a big difference.
That's huge, and that is, to me, the old red sirens start going off. And based on my history that I have with both of those groups.
Well, it's also, keep in mind, too, the IAB certification is a guidelines. It's not a standard strict standard, right? Not everybody does everything exactly the same.
But it's called out in the certification what you have met.
There's a range, right? There's a range of what you can do.
Yeah. And we go deeper. We go we go beyond what the spec allows. So if we go beyond the spec, and I consider my numbers to be the most I consider
what does it mean to go beyond, though? That's
we
the question.
We filter heavier. We throw more stuff out.
Are lower.
Lower.
Right.
So I thought I'm pretty doggone conservative. And if their numbers are really what they say they are, and they're not doing any tinkering, then wow. Or is there monkey business afoot?
That, I would say that kind of a difference raises a lot of question marks.
A lot of question marks.
I'm not sure that that's necessarily a great business model either, unless you're trying to scam people. I'm not sure that it makes any sense to have a measurement platform that is so out of the norm.
But again, I don't know all the circumstances, so that's why I said, come on, have that show, throw our redirect on. I want to see what our numbers are.
Right.
And then if I come back with 156,000 or 146,000 or whatever the number was, or 130,000, then I will know that. Or if I come and I have 390 or 385,000, I will know which of those two are playing, if they are, or they've got something seriously wrong.
Right.
We're gonna be in some news tomorrow after talking about this. But
I don't think there's enough details here to really dig too much into it. But
yeah.
The concept of it is not good for the industry.
No, not good at all. And
that's the last thing we need right now is to raise concerns.
And I've just gotten this from an email exchange I've had with somebody in the space so
it needs to be verified more.
Right, that's true. So I don't want to point too many fingers, but the source I trust. So
is the platform that it's being compared against, would you say that's rock solid? The other platform,
the originating,
right.
To my knowledge, yes.
Yeah, and obviously we don't know at that level, right?
But again, having been in this space as long as we have been, we kind of know who. If they just said specific, I'm like, oh yeah, they don't know how to count, But as many people have gotten certified at this point, we shouldn't see variations of 300,000.
Well, we're still seeing podcast hosts claim to be compliant with IAB podcast guidelines. So,
I don't think that there are. I think the IAB came pretty heavy on them. I haven't seen very much of that recently for those that actually haven't been through the process.
Yeah.
And if
I've heard folks claim that. So
yeah,
but we're just as good,
Yeah, well, just as good, but where's your? If you paid the 5-figure sum to go through the
that's why
the
a
process.
lot of them don't want to do it, right?
There's a lot that have. There's very few that haven't. That's the thing that's got me bugged. This hasn't come up in a long time, so that's why I was. But again, it just raised my ire a little bit because of some previous history I have with the group that is got the lower number.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And boy, I could write a really good book, but I don't know how I would do it without getting sued into the next century.
Todd, you see that the Hot Pod newsletter has a new lead writer now?
Yes, I did.
Ariel Shapiro.
Yeah.
Or Shapiro. Yeah.
I did not read
from Forbes.
I didn't read any background on her. So she comes from Forbes?
Forbes, right.
That's some good credentials.
And from Viacom, CBS, Paramount, I guess. So it's got a little background with those two entities. So
I guess we'll see what.
And Mr. Courtney Holt has decided that he's going to hang his hat up on Spotify. I don't know if you saw that.
I did, which is an interesting move. Are people starting to jump ship?
I don't know. I don't know if this is a sign of anything other than, maybe Courtney has decided that, it's time. I mean, he's actually leaving the Podcast Academy board too. So
right.
I guess that this is a time of departure.
So what's your thought process on Apple announcing follower counts?
I think it's another good data metric point for podcasters to have an idea of what their actual user engagement or listener engagement might be on their platform. I still don't think it's quite as deep of a commitment as Subscribe was, but
yeah,
I think it's a step back from the commitment of Subscribe, which they are now reserving for their paid premium platform.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, which makes sense, but still, I don't think it's as much of a commitment.
But you know what I've heard out of podcasters since that's been announced?
What's that?
Crickets.
Nothing.
Nothing. Which makes you go.
I know. Does that mean that podcasters aren't really using Podcast Connect, or is it that
they don't want to talk about it?
That they don't really see a lot of value in it. I don't know. I'm not quite sure which one it is.
Yeah,
precisely.
I would love to have Apple open that information up via an API and let me pull that out. I think that would be the shizness.
It would probably make it more useful information to more podcasters to have it integrated into the hosting platforms.
Yeah. Because then we could line it out by a specific app. Because again, this is only the Apple Podcast app that's being tracked. So it's just giving you a little insight here.
Right.
Just remember that when you go look at those numbers, ladies and gentlemen, doesn't count what's happening in Overcast, Pocket Cast, or any of those other devices. It's only what's happening on the Apple Podcast app.
And Todd, I know that the Apple Podcast folks don't really want to hear what I'm about to say, but I heard more talk at Podcast Movement about Android. So keep Android in your mind, Apple. So for the podcast app. If they want to compete directly more with Spotify, I think they need to do that. I don't think they would disagree with the comment either. It's just, is it going to be prioritized?
I wouldn't hold. I personally, again, I have no inside information. Let me just make that very clear. I don't see it happening. I don't think they'll do it.
They did it with iTunes and Windows. Why wouldn't they do it with Android? Android's bigger than Windows ever was.
What's the business model? With subscriptions, maybe there's a reason to do it because there's an opportunity to make money.
Right. So you could blend in the premium subscription.
Well, not really, because Google Play has the same rules.
I guess it depends on the deal that you strike with.
Right. Google Play has the same rules as Apple does as far as collecting the money. So Apple would have no financial incentive to do this because...
But could the content flow into Android, but the subscription not occur in Android?
I don't think legally. They would then see it's well, okay. So just as if I was a Spotify, I would want that to happen. Because then Spotify could come back and say, see, look what Apple has done. They have avoided Google Play's subscription percentage and went around, did an end around. Why can't we do an end around on Apple on the App Store? And they're not going to. Nope. Legally, I think that would probably potentially upset the apple cart when it comes to all these lawsuits going around with Apple collecting 30%.
All right.
That's at least my high-level idea on why if they did do a pure podcast app and no quote-unquote subscriptions, yeah, maybe, but I don't think they could do the subscription piece on. They would have to forego their cut. So why would you spend developer time if you're not making any money because I don't think Spotify is really are people doing well with subscriptions on Spotify?
I haven't heard definitively on that.
I haven't
Todd,
heard.
you're frozen on my screen.
Oh, am I?
I'm not sure what's going on. Yeah, am I frozen?
No, you're not frozen. You're moving around.
Okay, so it's coming from you then.
Yeah. So let me do this. Did that help?
Nope.
Oh, I'm trying to kick it here. So, well, we'll see if Skype falls out. Because usually that's an indication that, everything on the stream is running good. So that's weird.
Well, I could dial back in.
Yeah, if you want to, you can.
Okay, I'll just do it really, really quick.
All right. So what's the poll here? What do you guys think? Do you think what's the chances of Apple doing an Android app? You see me now?
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
I think from a market share move, I think it makes a lot of sense, especially when you think outside of the U.S. But if you think about how big Android handsets are outside of the U.S. compared to Apple.
Yeah, I don't know. I maybe have to get the guys in the bar at Podcast Movement or at Podfest and see if we, if we can get a comment. They don't make comments. They're very, very careful to not make comments.
Oh, they certainly don't make any commitments towards anything.
No,
like,
never.
Oh, that sounds like a good idea. Yeah.
No, they never say that either.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Well,
they do to me.
No, they don't. They don't say that. They'll just smile or something. They're not gonna.
I guess it depends on
who
their drinks they've had
or who they're talking to. They're not going to do that. Because we're going to come back here and, especially if it's something where we haven't signed an NDA on, we can actually, talk about it a little bit. So,
well, yeah. And that's exactly what we did.
On something, yeah.
On some things, right.
On something.
There's a bunch of other things we didn't do.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's always something more coming.
Yeah, I guess.
There's always something in the pipeline.
Yeah, it's true.
Well,
and I'm not even going to let's leave that. I don't want to be sued.
It's never happened yet.
No, but there's always a first, and I would not be the one to want to be made an example of.
Right.
But I don't know. I guess we'll see. So, by the way, what has driven your little conversation about an Apple app on Android? Where were those whispers coming from?
Whispers have always been there.
I know, but
there's not like a new time.
What prompted you to bring this up today?
I bring it up with them every time I see them.
Oh well, yeah.
Which hasn't been very often lately, but
I know.
Yeah.
I think we all have said it to them, so it is.
Yeah, and they're probably getting sick and tired of hearing about it.
Yeah, probably. If they were, they got billions of dollars. Why don't they just buy one?
Oh, just buy an app for Android?
Yeah, just buy an app.
They could do that, right?
Yeah, why not? Or buy it through a subsidiary or something.
That's an idea. Who would they buy, Todd?
I don't have an Android app, so.
Yeah, because you're on iOS like I am.
Yeah. Well, Blueberry has a iOS and an Android app, but it's for private podcasting customers. I don't need to build a podcasting app. Why would I want to compete with Pocket Cast and Overcast and all those other folks? I don't want to even consider it. That's dumb.
Do we ever want to talk about YouTube on the show at all?
Talk about what?
YouTube.
Why do we want to talk about YouTube? We're on YouTube. What, YouTube podcast?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. What do you know that I don't know?
Well, let me just put it this way: there are things that are being worked on.
No, well, I'm not read into any of that.
Okay.
I don't have friends in big places like that anymore.
You don't?
Yeah, the Google team has, they've replaced almost everybody over there.
Yeah, well, that's true. That is true. They have replaced pretty much everybody over there.
I got a crackling going on in my ears. Is that being heard in the stream? I hope not.
I'm not hearing it on my end.
Yeah, I think it's. Here's what happens. This cable right here, about every year or so, I've run over it so many times with the chair that I'm sitting on. It starts getting
frayed.
Yeah, and I have to replace it. So I've got one underneath the table right now that's coiled up. I need to throw in the trash can, and this will be the second one. So I think that's what's going on.
So have you been following the discussions about transcripts as of late?
Oh, yes, I have. As a matter of fact, yep, I have.
That's a whole nother depth of discussion, right?
Well, here's the thing about transcripts. It's really broken down into 3 levels: accessibility,
yep,
brand safety,
and advertising targeting.
Advertising targeting. Yep.
Those are the 3 buckets that we live in today.
Yeah.
Mostly.
So for the average podcaster, they don't care about advertising targeting.
Not unless they're on an advertising platform that uses it for that.
And they don't care about brand safety because they're not on advertising deals.
Unless they're on advertising deals.
Right. And so they care about accessibility. But, this is a conversation that I keep having in my own head. I think, don't get me wrong, I fully support having a transcript associated with a podcast. But the question is, and this is where we have to have a conversation with those that are actually using transcripts because they are hearing impaired. There's 48 million people in the United States that have some sort of hearing impairment, whether they're wearing a hearing aid or in some
number.
It's a big number. In the number of truly people that are deaf is much smaller, obviously. But I want to know how are they using what we're providing currently and what's limited deployment? Are they reading the transcript? Are they using automated tools in Chrome to turn on because you can do this in Chrome, in accessibility, you can turn it on when audio plays. It will show you the transcript or a closed caption of audio content. Are they doing that? How are they? Because that would mean someone has to watch their screen just as if they would watch YouTube. Because YouTube, I'm sure that's YouTube is very popular with people that are hearing impaired because they provide transcripts. So how
it's a closed caption experience more than anything else.
It is, but in TV it's different. You're seeing stuff, and there's I've run closed captions when I couldn't have the television volume up before. Kids are sleeping or whatever. So how in podcast? Because there's no, like this show, there's interactivity if you're watching it. But if you're listening, I think it would be pretty doggone boring. There's no context. There's no way to hear inflection. There's no way to know when someone the expression is gone. There's no, what everyone's listening to now. They hear the inflection of my voice. They know where the passion is. They know if I'm bored. They know if I'm excited. But how do we impair that to the hearing impaired and make an immersive experience? How do you get that out of text?
I don't think you do.
So at this
point with current technology that we have, until we have ways that we can activate the human brain more around flows of sound waves in different ways to go along with the transcript, I don't know how else you would do it.
In television, you can see the expression, you can see the movement, you can feel the vibe.
Well, that's what's good about like what we're doing here.
Right.
Like a video, right? So they could watch us.
They could watch us.
And then see the transcripts at the same time.
Right. And as a matter of fact, I've got it running right here. I'm watching Facebook and we're getting the transcripts up, or the closed captions happening while we're live. So how are they consuming pre-recorded podcast? How are they consuming that now if there's a transcript available? Or if they're... that's the question I want to answer.
They're just reading it, to be quite honest with you.
Okay, then...
That's the only way I could think of. I mean, if you think about how most podcasters have integrated transcripts, it's just basically a PDF.
Are they reading it? Are they reading it? That's
a good question.
Because to me...
I mean, if it's a video show, you want those things to be merged together.
Right. But for just pure audio...
it's a stretch.
And again, I don't live in a hearing impaired world, so I don't know.
Well, but Todd, what's the alternative? The alternative is
nothing.
Completely blocked.
Right. I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. And I'm going to get grief from people saying, "Well, provide it. It doesn't matter if we like it or there's no expression. Just provide it."
Well, and I think a lot of the hesitation that's existed, whether that's right or wrong, there's two sides to this, is accuracy, right?
The accuracy has gotten to the point now where it's pretty high.
Yeah, it's getting up there.
Yeah.
I agree with you. But once you start moving into other languages,
that's a whole different
accents. It blows it all apart.
We can't fix that.
Right.
We can't.
That's going to take years of programming, AI technology, processing ability to walk that line.
Yeah, that is without doubt.
Yeah.
So, it's something we're looking at it.
Yeah, we've been actively looking at this issue for a couple of years now.
Well, it's
getting a little frustrating in a way.
Well, it's also to the point was, all right, if I want the best transcription automated,
I think it's like 93, 94% is the best I've seen.
Yeah, you get around the 95% rate. Let's say we get to the best. Right. That's probably wholesale. Probably if you're just selling it as an add-on, that's probably $1.40 an hour. $1.40 an hour. Now,
that's not too bad, though.
If you wrap it into your service and you're going to convert 1 million minutes a month, then you're probably... it's actually not that big of a discount. It's maybe...
You've got a little bit of a bill on your hands.
It's 80 cents an hour, maybe 60 cents if you're doing high volume. So if you look at a podcast hosting pricing, and let's say a person's doing 10 hours.
Yeah, it's a good percentage.
It could be $10 that if I was to include that as...
Yeah, considering a lot of hosting plans are between $5 and $15.
Right. So there's no way I can survive financially by giving it away. So let's say I say, okay, let's make it a third party. You flip the switch, you pay the bill.
Right.
How many podcasters are going to pay $1.50 to $2 an hour to do that?
I agree with you.
All right. So I think conscientious podcasters will do that for $2 an hour.
I've also been thinking that this is really the area of the listening platforms to solve.
Well, but okay, so let's go back then. Then are podcasters willing to see a $10 increase on their hosting bills?
Well, I guess you really have to look at what you're getting out of that, right? What's the purpose of having transcripts that are part of your hosting plaque? I mean, what's the benefit?
Currently, the only benefit for 97% of podcasters is accessibility.
Accessibility, and it's available as a link to a PDF file.
Or an SRT file or whatever it may be.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. Because it's not going to be, unless we all do a bunch of integrations with the listening platforms, which some are pulling transcripts already for some of the shows that they have at least. We're going to be providing that to them for them to use.
Well, it costs the listening platforms money to do this too. Who do they?
Yeah, but some of these companies have, I guess, bigger bank accounts, lots more computer resources.
But Rob,
right.
Who's the players out there that do transcription at bulk? Amazon, Google, Rev.
I would say Apple's probably another one.
But Apple doesn't have that commercially available.
No, it's not.
Okay, so
they could do it.
So it's still...
And Pandora is another one. So
I bet you Pandora's using someone else.
Well, that's what most of these guys are doing. Even the Adori Labs platform at Podcast Movement was talking about how they did an integration in with another transcript providing platform. I believe it was Rev is what it's called, and then I know that the Descript platform works with Rev as well.
Right.
So these are separate tech companies that are providing that technology into other tools.
But still, you go right on Rev's website and you go to enterprise pricing and you can see what the per hour cost is at the base level.
Right.
But it isn't like hosting. You know, when you're moving petabytes of data, you get economy of scale that really goes like really down.
Yeah.
That doesn't economy of scale in transcripts. It doesn't go that far.
No,
it only goes like a little bit.
Well, there isn't really a real scale discount. It all is proportional. So
you get a scale discount if you're doing 5 million minutes an hour a month,
just on the bandwidth,
on the volume of transcription.
Right.
But you know, we know how many minutes Blueberry customers are doing a month, and when I priced that bill out, that was like that was like a gasper.
Right.
And if I take that number and I amortize that, I don't know if that's the right word. If I amortize that across the entire customer base, I have to raise prices. There's no way I can do it for free right now. I can't.
Right.
But if I tell the podcasters, you have to pay X number of dollars a month because we're going to give you a transcript more. And they say, well, we don't need it. I'll go somewhere else. I'll host with another platform that doesn't make me pay for this included. If I was a Spotify with deep pockets or an Apple or a Google, well, this is just a rounding error, but for a small company like mine, that's a big, big damn number.
And it did come out a couple days ago. Spotify says that they'll continue losing money from their podcasting acquisitions in 2022, but should begin to make a profit at a time not too far away.
Let me give everyone an idea. I'll just put my cards on the table. I'll put my cards on the table to do transcripts included with the package. For my podcasters today and the volume of minutes that we're doing, it would be $650,000 a year.
Yeah.
That's the bill.
It's a lot.
That's a lot. $650,000 is what it would cost me a year to give every one of my customers free 95% quality, closed caption quality transcripts.
Mm-hmm.
That's with volume discounts. That's a number.
That is a number. Yeah.
So
that goes straight to the bottom line.
That's right. That's just like minus $650,000.
Right.
You know, so, okay, so what do? If 95% of them say, I don't give a crap, and I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
Yeah, Todd, lay off 10 employees. There you go. That'll solve the problem.
No, I'm just saying if
I know.
So
well, that's the choice you have to make, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks that, hey, you free podcasting. Yeah, it costs nothing to do this.
Right.
Yeah, right. So see my dilemma here. No one's talked real numbers. I just put it on the table. So do I then go back and say, for the 5, 6, 7, 10% of you that want it, I'm going to charge you $1.50 an hour for your transcripts, 95% accuracy. You'll get an SRT file that's closed caption quality, and you're going to have to pay for it. Yeah,
I think that the tough question is that if you do it that way, guess what? You're not turning your platform on to be, compliant with the ADA stuff, right?
But I'm not in a situation where my hosts are over on majority of them on their own .com.
Right. That's true.
Right. Yeah. It's not like 95% of my shows are at blueberry.com/some for you guys and Podbean and Buzzsprout. You guys, that's, and I have a percentage of shows that are on blueberry.com too.
Right.
So it's not like we're exempt.
Well, hopefully part of this discussion that we were talking about is, as time has gone by, the utilitarian aspects of this maybe can be fully deployed in a platform too. If you can drive greater targeting with your advertising, then maybe there's some additional value to the network.
Okay, hold up. Only 3% of shows are being advertised.
Right.
Okay,
that's
so
true. Then just turn it on for the shows that have advertising. Right? I'm not sure what the answer is.
Yeah, we're between a rock and a hard place is what we're between.
Right.
Right.
And it gets back to what's the purpose of a host. Our only distribution play here is off of like a web player.
Right. That's us too. Web player.
Right. And I hate to say, but the web player is a pretty small piece of the distribution.
Very, very small part.
It could easily be axed.
Right.
If this issue comes to full fruition, right?
And we say, podcaster, you're responsible for your own player and your own, I don't want to do that.
That can happen too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But $650,000 a year?
Yeah, that's a tough pill to swallow.
That's a tough one. Especially, if it's for the 100% and 100% fully employ it and fully use it and everything, then maybe. But
well, and I think what happened here over the last week is, Brian Barletta from Sounds Profitable put out this comment about how transcripts should be mandatory. Right?
Okay, at this point, if you as a podcaster have to make that decision, as you building your brand and making your show accessible on your sites, I think you have to decide whether or not that is a valid statement or not. It's really easy to say it should be mandatory.
It is. Yeah.
It's really easy to say
it's a whole article from April 12th, transcripts as a requirement for podcast advertising. That's a pretty qualified statement, right? But I think what was taken in the pod news was that it's, should it be a mandatory in podcasts? So I think there is a difference between having it available to be used with podcast advertising per se.
Advertising, though, again, let's back up again.
Right.
What are you going to get sued into the dirt for? Accessibility. You're not going to get sued into the dirt because an advertiser's pissed off you don't have a transcript to be able to do a word run through to look for words like F you or, brand safety stuff.
Right. And contextual targeting are the two things. And I think what we're trying to do is come up with ways that these can be used that drive value, that can justify the investment, right, into these type of solutions here. Because I'm not sure that the podcast hosting platforms, it makes sense for a lot of them to invest a lot in this to make it available to everyone. I think what most of our thinking is that they'll make it as a paid subscription service.
Yep.
And I believe that that's all that's been done at this point in most places.
Yeah.
Right.
I can't pay that bill if I wanted to. That's
right.
That's we don't run on podcast hosting companies print money, don't you know? We have no bills.
Right.
We have no overhead.
Yeah. So here's another quote. It says, I truly believe no advertiser should buy inventory on a podcast that does not include transcriptions of their episodes.
It's insane. We've been doing that since the beginning. Why? Why do they need transcriptions for advertising? Why? It's because the advertisers are being greedy.
Of course they are.
Hell with them.
They also don't want us to use dynamic insertion either.
Tough.
So they can have ads live in the shows and the content forever.
For 90% of shows, it doesn't matter.
Well, that's true. But for the small number of shows that, and who wants old ads in your content?
90% of podcasts deliver 90% of their lifetime downloads within the first 96 hours that they're online. End of statement.
Yeah.
So, you have to use ad insertion. Well, for 90% of shows, you don't need to, because no one's listening later.
Right. Well, that's for using it with archives, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And if you really are worried about it, then keep a master file when you create the show and then have the ad in it. And then 3 months later, re-upload the file, erase the one that has the ad in it, and don't worry about it.
Right.
Don't incur the cost. If you have long tail content that is getting significant downloads month after month, absolutely pay for ad insertion. This is the thing. This is the thing that drives me insane. Is it one thing fits all here? Everyone has to do this. Well, no, they don't.
Mm-hmm. Well, this industry has never operated that way, where everybody does the same thing. We've all been a bunch of stray cats. Run off.
Brian's being fed some stuff by advertisers. Why? Why does a show have to have a transcript? Why? Because my job, if I'm selling inventory, my job is the person that gets the RFP, that does the reporting. My job is, number one, I'm the one that's responsible for protecting the brand. I'm responsible for checking on the reads. I'm the one that's responsible to make sure stuff is delivered as it's supposed to be. I'm the one responsible for brand safety. I'm not going to put a show on an ad buy that is going to cause that advertiser to say, I'm out of here.
Mm-hmm.
But no one's willing to do that work. They want it all automated.
Right. And what's not being considered here is that it's not entirely practical to shift that burden onto the hosting platforms.
No.
Because it has limited use with a limited set of shows.
Yep.
Now, some shows will want to use it to put on their website, right? Just like what happens on your platform, I'm sure. People pull the transcript and cut and paste it into their webpage.
Don't do that, by the way.
Well, that's a whole nother discussion, right?
Right.
Whatever you post from a transcript needs to be groomed. Let's put it to you that way. Yeah.
Well, I'm just,
don't just put it up raw. Yeah. And why is that, Todd?
Oh. Being quiet.
You're being quiet. That never happens.
I'm just, I'm at a point where I have to do what's best for the 97% of podcasters that I serve. And if you become a podcaster that needs to take advertising and are being forced to do attribution, provide transcripts, all this other stuff, then that's on you to take care of that and pay for that.
Yeah, and it's not a tremendously motivating factor to say that, providing transcripts can simply prevent you from being sued. That's the motivation, right?
That's actually, but they're not going to come after a Joe Schmo podcaster.
Right.
No, who'd they go after? iHeart. Not to say that they won't at some point. And again, I think it's a good practice of a podcaster to have a transcript of their show to increase accessibility. Don't get me wrong.
I mean, because we generally, coming out of the origins of the podcasting, want to do things because it's the right thing to do for the listener and the content creator.
Right. But
not so much for the advertiser or some big entity. But, I guess there is a factor here. I guess, where do most listeners listen to their content? They listen to it on big listening platforms.
Mm-hmm. They
don't listen to it on our little web player because that's really the only place that it's going to be displayed.
It's the only exposure.
Right. I don't even think Spotify or Apple are even going to take our transcript and do anything.
No, they're not. Because they're going to run it through their engine.
Yeah, so who are we actually doing this for? And for how many people are we actually doing this for?
We're doing it. Or
are we just doing it to check somebody's box?
As a host, we're doing this for those that have a web player on their website.
That's it. Well, that's not the only reason that we would do it. I think it would be to do the right thing here.
Mm-hmm.
But really, how many people use our tools, our listening tools, to listen to a show?
Well, I know the exact percentage show by show.
5% probably, if that.
Mm-hmm.
So, not sure beating up on the hosting platforms is really...
We're the easy targets.
Really going to bring you the results you want either.
Right.
If the real reason to do this is advertisers and listeners, then okay, it's easier to justify the position of advertisers, right? If you have shows on your platform and you want to make them better targeted or whatever that advertising technology is, it certainly can make sense to start doing these kinds of things. And I'm not necessarily opposed to that, but looking at us as listening platforms and applying this methodology is a little bit of a stretch.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're not listening platforms.
No, we're not.
Really. So we're delivery platforms.
Right.
But I just think there's going to be a lot more pressure on Spotify, Apple, iHeart, Pandora, Stitcher to do this before us. Right? Does that make more sense?
I think so.
Yeah. But on the advertising side, that, if we want to play in the advertising game, we probably have to think about this. Maybe there's another use case. So, yeah. So you don't think we've gotten ourselves in trouble here, have we?
Oh, I think we have.
I'm just being real and honest about it. I mean, I think it's
not like I haven't looked at this.
That's what we do on this show. It's not that we don't want to do the right thing.
Yeah,
we do. So, we'll keep looking at it and we'll keep trying to figure out a way to make it work.
Meanwhile, if someone wants to come in with $650,000 a year, give me a grant.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, in the meantime, don't you guys have a tag in your web player right now that can link to a PDF?
No,
of a transcript?
Not in the web player. We do not, but
you don't.
We're looking at that.
Yeah, because I think we're looking at that too.
Yeah.
So, and if that can be done, because I mean our platforms currently support PDF right now, so it's really just a matter of getting a transcript and exporting it into a PDF file and posting a link. At the end of the day, it's not a huge technology hurdle, but it is a burden on the content creator.
I think there is something a little more elegant that can be done, but then again, you're on a situation where that tag will have to be on or off depending on each episode and when the transcript is actually assigned to it.
But are we considered to be doing the right thing in the market, Todd, to just have a transcript generated regardless of its accuracy and made available off of a web player or off of a website link, and that checks the box? Or is there a greater expectation here? Because a closed caption is what everybody wants in the web players.
Right. Well, if you're going to create the PDF, it says it's not much of a step to get a JSON value of that transcript
and read it right onto the screen. Right. Yeah.
So,
but I think it would make for a heavier lift on the web player. So each time that web player downloads, it's going to download quite a bit more payload.
Yeah. Well, you don't have to execute it until you hit play too. So it's not like you have to put that play load.
It's going to stream it to the player probably.
Right. But it will definitely it'll cause traffic at how many ever bytes. I think, of course, the text is almost nothing compared to everything else.
Yeah.
So almost no overhead.
Right. So I think that there's definite intent on doing this. I know I've been working on it, talking to companies about transcripts for the last 2 years. So, and I continue to get contacts from them every day. I'm sure you do too.
I do too. And, be honest with you, everyone is chasing one player in the space. And the pricing is about the same across all of them. And they have a varying degrees of accuracy.
Right.
And for, the difference between 85 and 95% accuracy is this much in cost.
Right. Yeah.
Because everyone's got better transcripts and they're willing to run comparison studies. And then, it's then what they really deliver is two different things. So,
yeah. And clean audio, your accuracy, once the audio quality goes down. So that's a little bit on the on the podcaster to do a better job at creating good quality audio too.
Yeah.
So if they want to get a good transcript.
Yeah. And it's again, it's a big bill.
Yep.
And you know,
it may have to be shifted to the podcaster, unfortunately.
And the way I'm thinking, I'm looking to approach this is that it's definitely going to be one of those things where we're going to have to I can't incur that currently. I can't incur that cost.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe on certain plans I can. Maybe on pro customers I can absorb it.
Yeah.
But someone that's paying $12 a month for an account and has 8 hours of content, it you know, financially, it can't give it away.
Yeah.
All right, we're over. We're way over. Wow.
All right.
Okay. So, what say you? We've been kind of frank here. I showed and if my bill was $650,000, Libsyn's would be about $3 or $4 million.
Yeah, we'll see on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a pretty serious subject, and it's something that all of us have been thinking a lot about for many years. So don't get the impression that this hasn't been something that's been on our plates for a long time.
No,
so
not at all.
And it's not that we don't care about it. We do.
Yeah, we do.
So else we wouldn't spend so much time trying to figure it out.
Yeah. So. All right. Well, everyone, thank you. I'm Todd at blueberry.com, at Geek News on Twitter.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter too, at Rob Greenlee. And you can find me there, as well as send me an email if you want, robg@libsyn.com. And more than happy to hear from you and talk about anything that you might want to share with us. We can always take those tips and little tidbits of information that you might hear out there and talk about on the show. But, you know, we've got some cool episodes coming up. I know I was planning on having some guests on the show. Maybe I'll pull in a guest for next week before we head off to Vegas. So we'll see.
Well, with that, we'll try to have some links in the show notes, linking to the event, the meetup in Vegas, and our schedule for NAB Live. If you want to come sit in the audience with us, we will not be streaming live. But at the same time, again, reminder, we've got the Podcast Movement Evolutions video up on the website at newmediashow.com. Mm-hmm. It's in the feed now as well. And, take our survey. I haven't checked to see how many responses we had, but please take our survey. The link will be up in the show notes as that as well. So we want to hear from our listener survey. So
right.
Okay.
I'll go fill that out too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Skew the results.
Mm-hmm. All right, everybody. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.